Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Agada di.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyinji.
Okay. Important.
Nsila ID soto.
Ah, sa soto. Sorry. Agada di.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Ah,
bare mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Janno mi yona
forest de bureau Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere ha birim koyna fo kato
bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolon labe
56 branches mola sota Gambia ja
ha
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol nko kodo kiya bere kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw jannam number 1 ti nyonta andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi man domorol dir fana beteat Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je
e wo moyo diat
apelenta
baraka ba ya lafta nyelan kendol e bina
yalo bu kanila ko la baraka ba
yalo ndel ciosano lo
baraka
on Kerfatu. Today being Saturday, if I'm right, the 10th, correct me, the 11th of April 2020. And in this edition, of course, we are continuing with our coverage on COVID-19. Like we promised, of course, we'll bring you various aspects and angles to the Gambia's efforts at controlling the spread of this pandemic. Last week had been very busy, both in the National Assembly and other areas of the government. The Parliament extended the emergency to 45 days, half of what the government wanted. And there have been complaints and issues, recommendations, and also in terms of business people have also been raising their voice about the economic loss that the emergency measures are going to have on their businesses and livelihoods. The police too have also been very busy trying to enforce the measures that are contained in the emergency powers. So all these issues will be looked at from the horse's mouth, if you like. I have with me in the studio Lamin Damfa. He is the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of State. Mr. Damfa, welcome. And we have Cherno Marina, he is the Solicitor General at the Ministry of Justice. Mr. Marina, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And on my far right is ASP Lamin Jai. He is the Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Police Force. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
All right, for you out there, I must start this program on a very sad note. My usual panelist, Nyima Kamara, lost her dad early this morning, and that's why she cannot be here. So our heart goes to Nyima and family about the loss of his dad, Labali Kamara. Gentlemen, let's go straight. I don't know, where do I start? I go straight to the Solicitor General because you started the whole hula, if you want. Why do you think in the first place that the government wants to have this emergency extended, despite the fact that the public wanted something in turn by way of relief because of the absolute and certain repercussions it will have on the livelihood and even the freedom of the people?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Let me begin by saying that everything that has been done so far under this period of emergency has been done according to law, according to the provisions of the Constitution, according to what the Constitution has prescribed. I think the whole process started on the 18th of March 2020 when the first proclamation was signed by the President. And this was done pursuant to Section 34(1)(b) of the 1997 Constitution, which basically provides that where a situation exists that may lead to a state of public emergency, then the President may by proclamation, prescribe that certain measures be taken in order to deal with that situation. So it was on that 18th March, on the basis of that proclamation, that the initial steps or measures were taken by the president to restrict the, schools, educational institutions, the airports and all that. And then, of course, by then the coronavirus had not yet entered into Gambia. There were no positive cases.
Positive cases at the time.
But then, subsequent to that, we had the first positive cases in the Gambia. And as a result, on the advice of the health authorities, the state of public emergency was actually, declared on the 26th.
26th March.
Gazetted on the 26th, but to take force or effect on the 27th.
Wow. Okay, that's where the trouble is. The members of parliament felt it wasn't gazetted.
No, I have a copy of the Gazette here, and I think that was probably because of, some gap in the information. But I think
but they were not consulted.
Not consulted as so. You don't need to consult.
No, they were not informed.
Probably they did not have the information, but even the Speaker of the National Assembly had a copy of the Gazette,
okay,
which actually was signed into law. Okay. So it was, I think, some information
Some information gap.
Yes, but
so,
then
so it was lawful.
Exactly, it was. On the 26th, the president signed, the proclamation, and that actually declared that a state of emergency actually now exists. And if that proclamation has been signed into law, that the same constitution under section 35 also gives the president the power to actually enact emergency regulations. And that power also is prescribed in the Emergency Powers Act of the Gambia. So it is on the basis of that principal legislation that these regulations are being enacted.
But then it needs to have confirmation if it is to be extended from Parliament.
Yes, indeed, that's what happened in Parliament, in National Assembly. 2 Fridays ago, where the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General, actually presented the motion for the extension of the state of emergency for 90 days, which is the maximum period provided for under Section 34. But of course, under Section 34(5), there is also provision that it could be for a lesser period. And I think the National Assembly members acted under those provisions to say, let's do it for 45 days and assess the situation. And if things don't improve within that 45-day period, then it can be extended further. So that was what was done. And of course, in the same vein, the regulations which were assigned into law by the president were also affirmed by the same National Assembly. There are 4 regulations which are in force right now, and which the National Assembly also affirmed by resolution on the same day.
So as far as procedure and rules and regulations, now everything is in place now.
Yes, legally speaking, we are covered. Basically, everything that is being done is being done under cover of law, under cover of the Constitution. And so,
So now let's talk about the nitty-gritties. Emergency powers, like for example, giving powers to the police or the enforcers of law to implement these measures include, of course. Let me just begin by, because this one has a specific idea on that. Closing businesses and restricting movements of people, etc., etc. Now, many people felt very bad about that. So why do you think the measures are this tough? Is it because obviously there is a need to save lives, etc. But can't there be room so that the measures can be a little bit bearable to the population?
Let me probably just, I'm no health expert, certainly, but I think we've all been watching the news, we've all seen the developments. I was reading some, posting on the internet recently, and that gives very scary figures about how this pandemic can actually spread like wildfire if not, if precautionary measures are not taken. And I think that is what has happened to some countries around the world now who didn't take it seriously or didn't take enough steps in the initial period seriously. And so we didn't want to fall into, that situation. And as a result of that, we had to take precautionary measures, to avoid the spread of the pandemic, because we all know what our healthcare system is like in this country. I'm sure. We all know that it will be a nightmare if this was to spread around. I mean, it's as a result of that these precautionary measures are very important to make sure we don't wait until it gets into the country and starts spreading and you start taking those measures. Then it becomes too late.
Yes.
And that's the reason.
And what has been also said about the measures is that, well, I don't know whether this falls really to, under your purview as Ministry of Justice, but when you contemplate these ideas, you must, of course, look at the, the economic and other, things that could come out of it. Why didn't you advise government, maybe the Ministry of Trade or other arms of the government, about what steps to take to ameliorate, the disadvantages that will occur when people's movement, for example, are restricted?
No, I mean,
or your business was just to protect the law.
Well, I mean, the way government works, everybody has your own mandate. Yeah. I mean, our mandate is basically to make sure that the legal framework, the legal provisions of the Constitution are respected. When it comes to other packages,
yeah, but it's the same government.
It's the same government. Certainly, that's why
the Justice Minister went to Parliament and said this will happen, and Parliament tell him, okay, what do you get to the people when you say they will not go?
Indeed,
you cannot answer that.
Indeed, I mean that is an answer that I think the Ministry of Finance and Trade, can actually. Better deal with, because they are the experts in that area.
We will come to you, Mr. Damva. Let's cross over to, well, the arms of the law, the implementation, as Mr. Njai. Marina's measures, as you heard from his ministry, have proved a little bit controversial in many quarters. People are expressing the fact that if their movements are restricted, they cannot do business as usual, then obviously there's going to be a huge problem. And the police, I've had scenes that where you met resistance. And when you want people to go home or when you want them to close their shops, they would say this is not categorized in your non-essential. How do you go about this? Because some people said, when you say non-essential, what do you mean? This guy is selling food, but I need to sell my mobile to be able to buy food. So how do you tackle those things?
Very well, Mr. Cham. I think the regulation has clearly stated also the essential commodities. If you look at the regulation, you will see essential commodities are basically food commodities per se. Rice, millet, onion, and the likes. So we are strictly following that, ensuring shops that are dealing with those issues are categorized or termed as essential commodity shops. Now, those that don't fall under that category, as far as it is stated in the regulation, then we term all those ones as non-essential. Of course, like you said, we've been having challenges, and these challenges, I'm sure authorities are aware of this. Possibly they will come up with some new measures as to how to deal with them. But as at now, we have got challenges at the beginning, but a lot of people in the market especially have come to understand that essential commodities and non-essential commodities. The difference is basically those ones that are dealing with food commodities and the like, and those ones that are not dealing with food commodities.
Okay, I have come to, because obviously the main idea is to decongest the market. I think that's the whole overall aim.
Very well.
But when you have this essential material sellers, like you go to the butchery, or butcher shop in the market, you go to fish sellers, you tend to have, at any given time of the day, more people come to buy meat or fish than they come to buy second-hand clothing. Now, if you ask me who sells second-hand to lock up, because you don't want crowd there, and even at the best of times, I don't get a crowd as big as the meat seller. So how do you do that? How do you justify?
Well,
or the second-class seller is just bad luck?
That's not the case, Mr. Cham. I think, like you said, the idea is to decongest the market.
Yes.
And when you are decongesting the market, you must begin with thinking of the essentials. What really get people into the market? So if, for example, food commodities, which are very vital, they are definitely physiological needs. People cannot do without them. And so therefore, if you ask them to close, then people may not be able to stay at home also. So this is...
But I can afford to stay with this clothes for 1 week.
Of course.
But I cannot afford
of course, you cannot afford to stay at home without food, but you can stay at home without second-hand clothing or without something.
Or without a mobile.
So this is definitely the wisdom. And so we want people to understand this. These are the rationale behind those kind of situations.
Let me just say, Mr. Chairman, before you move on, that of course the government is not oblivious of these concerns that the non-food sellers have. Especially in the face of the fact that we do not yet have an intervention package for them.
Yes.
And so measures are at an advanced stage really to see how we can balance. I mean, the food and the non-food sellers. I mean, I'm sure very soon. I mean, the media will be informed about those measures that can really, strike a balance between that, between the health and the economic well-being of the people.
I'll still stay with, the policeman. Now, the drivers too. You have a problem implementing this half-capacity vehicle lane. I've witnessed a lot of problems with passengers. Even between the passengers themselves on one hand and the police with the drivers on the other hand.
Very well.
How do you go about this? Because it obviously sparked the need to raise fares, or probably to talk about fuel prices, etc., etc. All these measures, all these issues came up when you come with this half capacity. How do you strike the balance? If I were to drive a taxi, 4 passengers, now you said I can take only 3. The remaining seat will remain unpaid. How do? You want passengers to pay for that, or the driver simply has to lose revenue?
Very well, Mr. Cham. If you understand the Gambia Police Force, it's a law enforcement institution, and we are not the lawmakers, and so perhaps when it comes to striking the balance, some others will come into that. But our job is to enforce, and we enforce according to the way the regulation is. The regulation said vehicles should go with half of the capacity, which we understand very well, and so we want to ensure that we enforce that. And definitely, like you said, the challenge is the fact that, considering other factors, it is becoming a challenge for the police. But we are trying to see to it that drivers adhere to this, because at the end of the day, the wisdom is to see to it that people that comes into the vehicle have a certain distance in between them, so that the fact that the disease is spread by people coming into contact, so that social distancing need to be observed in vehicles as well. And so this is the reason why that thing came about. And so we are also ensuring that drivers adhere to this. And in fact, we have conducted a lot of operations as at now. A lot of drivers have been taken to court and fined $5,000 for going beyond their capacities.
Well, you see, the irony is that while you people want people to keep space between them in commercial vehicles, when you go to implement these things, I see your vehicles are packed with the law enforcement who are barely one inch from each other. I saw with the police, I saw with the soldiers.
Very well.
How can you yourself go and packed like sardines in a police car, and then you want people to keep meters from themselves?
Very well, Mr. Cham, if you look at the Gambia Police, we operate within resources that are within our disposal. And so, of course, we have observed these issues, and we have been working with our officers, especially with the Ministry of Health, to be able to get this personal protective equipment for our officers on the front line. And not only that, but also operate within the guidelines of the WHO and the Ministry of Health, so that they will also be observing in protecting themselves as they interact with the people.
Absolutely, yes. Necessary. All right, let's turn to Mr. Damfa, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade. So you are the person that everybody now is pointing their fingers to. You either are not ready yet or have not advised the Ministry of Justice as to what measures should be put in place to cater for, obviously, the economic, social, and, other impacts these measures will have on them. For example, people want to know, your ministry, Ministry of Trade, did you really anticipate that revenue from trade is going to fall and people are going to suffer because they cannot operate their business as usual?
Thank you so much, Mr. Cham. I think this is a very important program, as the issues that we are discussing are very important, and we need to enlighten the public more, so that they understand some of these measures, why government are taking them. And these measures are taken in the best interest of the public.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that's a fact that we have to acknowledge, and we have to accept. The reason why the Ministry of Trade came in, we show that the prices of basic commodities, we are moving upward.
Okay.
And we know the income level of people in this country. If that trend continues, nobody will be thinking about health anymore. People will be thinking about their basic food. How would they access that?
Yeah.
and that was the reason why we had to quickly partner with the Ministry of Justice to ensure that the prices of basic commodities are capped as quickly as possible from the date of on the 18th of March. How the prices were on the 18th of March. And we didn't also stop that. We also constantly monitor the inflow of these basic commodities from the import level to ensure that we have sufficient food, sufficient food in country to ensure that people will not go hungry, which for us is very, very important. Yeah, but when the other regulation came in, that request other businesses to close.
Yes.
With the objective that we will to contain the spread of the COVID-19.
Decongest places.
Yeah. I think that's the main objective, to ensure that we don't spread it around. Yeah. Because if you spread it around, the food that you are talking about, you will spend most of that eating that food at the hospital. At the end of the day, you may not, if you are lucky, you will not even survive. Yeah. And that is something that we know is going to affect the people. We know very well. And also the businesses that are asked to close, we know is going to affect them. And that's why if you look at the second pronouncement, after that the regulation came in, there was an amendment.
Yes.
That allowed some businesses to open, and also to keep certain distance, from the main market. Exactly. You realize that regulations, stipulates that you should have non-essential commodity. You should move the distance of about 1 meter radius from the market, and also temporary stores should not be less than 2 meters away from each other.
Exactly.
We know even that is going to affect the people.
Yeah.
And that's why Mr. Marena, said there is another refinement of the regulation that will come.
Which may come.
Yeah, which may come very soon, probably early next week. All these interventions is to see how best we can manage, the spread of COVID-19, as well as
minimize the
effects on the people, especially the basic life.
Exactly. And you mentioned something important. People were worried that basic commodities themselves can get scarce within this period. And your ministry, I remember, gave assurance that in terms of the volumes of food coming to the country, you are comfortable with that.
Yes.
But then, last week we saw the police arresting dozens of people who wanted to take tons and tons of those kind of materials out of the country. So let's begin by that. How much do you have cover in terms of food in this country that can last us through? Because Mr. Marena and others may come and ask for another 45 days if things doesn't improve. So what will you say? What will you do?
We have a cover for almost 4 months.
4 months from April?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So up to July perhaps?
Yes, up to July. And we can even go beyond that. If you look at the expected stock that we expect to come into the country, we may even go up to July without any problem.
Okay.
Yes, I think the biggest threat that we face is smuggling, and police are doing
police
very well
to
ensure that they put a stop to that.
But you know that you call it smuggling now because the law said it cannot happen now. But it was legal business before.
Yeah, but it's no longer legal.
That's where the problem is.
But it's no longer legal.
Well, now, because Mr. Marena now and his measures are making it illegal. So it was legal business before.
Yes.
And it's really going to cost economic loss now.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so now, the people want to know, why didn't your government come with a package? In the past, I know the population was smaller then. We used to have this free rice distribution, free coos. They used to call it Jawara Mano, Jawara Nyo, and stuff like that. Why didn't your government come with such a relief aid? Now we see individual foundations, etc., busy doing that, but there's not enough. Why can't the government come with some big package that really can help people to manage themselves?
I think when people are in a difficult situation, sometimes they become impatient. But there are a lot of things that government is doing, and one of them is this relief package that government is working on. And very soon, government will pronounce something like that. Yes, I'm very much sure, because we are working with partners, and not only in terms of the food package, but even looking at its effect on businesses. You know, currently we're doing some rapid assessment of the likely, impact on businesses, and we are documenting this so that we're working with our partners to ensure that we come with a policy package that will be able to support the businesses.
Wouldn't it fall under your purview to advise government to, to cut, or let's say to relieve people from paying tax under this period?
Well, that's what
people have been asking for that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Government is working on a package.
Okay.
And that may be part of that package.
Part of that package.
Yeah, but you have to do the assessment first.
Okay, workers too are under your purview. Some workers believe, okay, when you are staying at home and you are still being paid, fine, it's not a big problem. But wouldn't employers take this as an opportunity now to consider laying off workers? Because they say, well, we now know that perhaps we can do away with Mr. Marina or Mr. Champ, since we have managed without them. No, there are fears that there could be. Is your ministry going to assure that nobody lays off anybody?
No, that is already happening, because you look at the tourism sector.
Yeah, no, that one.
Yeah, tourism sector has closed, prematurely.
Yes.
Because usually it closed at the end of April.
Absolutely. They were hit by several blows this year.
Yes, they are hit by the
Thomas
storm.
Cook here,
I think the biggest storm is the corona.
Yes. So what are you going to do with that sector?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain. We are aware of all this, and these are all going to be part of the package, because we have the social component that we are also looking at, both on employers as well as on employees, and we are looking at it from a more holistic view to make sure that we have a very comprehensive package at the end of the day that is going to ease the burden on both the employees, employers, and the businesses as well, and also the ordinary Gambians.
Okay. Yes, let's go back to Mr. Marina with all these measures that you put in place now. Let's talk about another one, the criminal justice system, like the judiciary, been brought to a halt. People, we always say naturally justice delayed is justice denied, but then we all have an emergency problem here now. Are things like bail applications, etc., as your ministry promised, are those still going on?
Actually, the courts are not closed. I mean, they have scaled down considerably.
Okay.
I mean, that is why, people who are in violation of these regulations are still being taken to the courts.
Okay.
I mean, so the courts are open. I mean, of course, emergency applications like bail applications, or any emergency applications under the law are also, being processed by the courts.
Okay.
And in fact, even for criminal cases, people who are in remand, that's something also which the judiciary has not lost sight of. And arrangements are being made really to arrange for virtual hearings.
Okay.
That is something that the UNDP is also supporting, so that we don't also keep people behind bars whilst they are waiting trial without any indication of when this is going to end.
We're still with those people being kept behind. Many people have said that perhaps this is the best time to set them free under one framework or the other, so that you prevent them from catching the COVID. Because when the COVID-19 hits the prisons, it could be two, but they wouldn't have trade. Is your government, your ministry, not advising government to find a way of releasing prisoners, much as distasteful as this may sound, because some of them might be hardcore criminals? But then you want to protect everybody, including those in prison.
Yes, in fact, I think
this measure has been taken in other countries.
The problem is, like Mr. Damfa alluded to, people want everything to happen at the same time. And that is just practically impossible. As I am speaking to you, that is at an advanced stage.
Okay.
But you cannot just go to prison and just take people off and release them.
Yes.
You have to look at the kind of offense they have committed.
But COVID doesn't know the type of offense.
No, but then you also have to protect the Gambian people. You cannot be releasing people who are going to be a menace to society. So all this have to be taken into account. You cannot be taking people out of prisons who have committed the most heinous crimes as well because of COVID. That also has an implication on the victims outside there. That has an implication on wider society. So you have to pick and choose carefully. And I think that's what is being done in all countries. There is no mass release of prisoners. You have to consider, all the factors, and that has been done over the past week. And I think very soon I mean, an announcement will be made.
So if I understand from both you and Damvao trade, there's something in the cooking that probably will be a little bit palatable to the people in the next coming weeks.
Indeed.
Yeah, the policeman does. He said their job is not to negotiate or strike a balance. It's to enforce the rules. What did you do with the people who try to smuggle? We come in there. I mean, I think you need to sensitize people. People, like I said, this was pretty, legal business. Now they've been told you cannot carry food from here to Casamance. Or what about some people who might want to take it to their relatives?
Very well, Mr. Cham. Like you said, I remember somebody who, when I was on one of the programs, who said to me,
you said in Bariwo, isn't it?
He said to me, but I own these things, so how comes you are telling me that I cannot carry them anywhere I want to take them to? I said, well, the thing is, you own them. The question is not about ownership. It's about the fact that you cannot take them outside of the Gambia as we are in a period of emergency. And so within the period of this emergency, the export of essential commodities out of the Gambia is prohibited under the regulation. So we definitely want people to understand this, and so I know for sure with time most of the people will get to understand, but there are people who are definitely living on this, and we will ensure that those things don't happen, especially within this crucial period of time. And so our call is for people, especially communities that live within the border villages, because we know that we have official borders in the Gambia, but also we have unofficial borders, or the ones that we call porous borders.
Yes.
So you can see some communities are very close to the border, so that you can easily go in and out without being noticed. And so we want to spread word to those communities to help the police with information. Anytime they see vehicles carrying essential commodities using those parts or routes, they can easily contact the police and help us get those information so that the security will intercept those commodities as soon as possible.
I still stay with the borders. How tightly are you policing them? You already acknowledge the fact that some are quite not policeable. Some people live on another, not just commodities, but movement of people themselves.
Very well.
Because we're trying to stop people from coming with COVID. We know we are surrounded by Senegal. They have 200 cases or so, and people naturally who are ignorant of the disease themselves might think that perhaps there's only one case in the Gambia. Let me go there and seek sanctuary from it. So they may bring contamination to ourselves.
Very well.
How do you stop them?
Very well.
Do you encourage the villagers, for example, to report on everybody who comes as a stranger in their village?
First, we have border patrol, apart from the official borders that we have, but we also have border patrol task force, the Gambia Police Force, in collaboration with the immigration and even the military, all partnering to ensure that the borders are patrolled effectively. And so also there is one important concept that we are spreading around, which is the concept of community policing. We want communities to take ownership of their own security. And so we have seen, in fact, some example of communities that are within the Sarahole areas that are taking up responsibility to police their own borders, so that people don't come in there with COVID. That's one thing. Or even smugglers also don't use their borders. So that is something that definitely others need to emulate. And
people
so
in Badibu,
the spread of
in Salum, people bordering Kabada.
Very well.
And Fonyi.
In fact, Kiang Kabada, that area, Jataba area too, is something mentioned, and we are working with our the commissioner of police around that area to see that they reach out with the communities, because the way they spoke about the border is such that the community definitely need to help the police or the security to ensure that they police that area.
Okay. Quarantine methods you have also come under scrutiny. Are there still people who refuse to be quarantined? Because remember the last time you were looking for 14 people who didn't want to be quarantined, and you had a row with an MP who didn't want her mother to be quarantined. How is it now?
Well, I think if there was somebody from the health department, they should
be able to give us
updates about quarantine.
I'm not saying the number in.
What we do at quarantine centers is we provide the security. We back the Ministry of Health up so that when they have people at the quarantine center, we provide the security that they don't go out also. But when it comes to the numbers, who else is
I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm saying you have resistance, like people. Of course, nobody's coming by air.
Well, at the beginning, we had instances like that. But when the airport is locked and all that, so we're not having instances like that. Those that are in there, we provide security to ensure they stay there until the period of their quarantine.
Also, social gatherings. Only recently, we were passing a village, and there we could hear people singing. We were wondering why they didn't know about, or the police didn't know about. So let's have this clear. If I passed here in Burford and I find people drumming, can I call the police to come and get them dispersed immediately? I have already imagined. So is that allowable, Mr. Marina, perhaps?
No, certainly. I mean, public gatherings of more than 5 people are prohibited under the, the regulations. Which is. The restrictions on non-essential public places. And so suddenly, if anybody sees, a group of people gathering for whatever, whether it's for singing or for a football match, or for...
And you know what? People still, I see football, people going to the field to train.
Indeed.
If you ask them, they say, no, we are not playing, we're playing among ourselves.
No, indeed.
And they are all well over 20.
That is a serious problem. That is a serious problem. In fact, I had a conversation with
Mr. Njai.
Police PRO on that. I think people need to really be taken off. These football fields. Unfortunately, a lot of us are still very complacent with this disease, and that's very sad.
Very, very sad.
Because, like I said earlier, the countries that are most affected today are those who were complacent at the beginning.
Which is very
complacency is one of the best friends of COVID-19. It likes,
and even though they have the best medical system, we saw them collapsing under this thing. So,
indeed. So the footballs are not. Football matches are not allowed. Any other games that involve a group of people are not allowed. You're allowed to go on your individual training. Or you go in pairs. But then you cannot have a group
as
game.
a team.
Yes, not
and
as a team.
And that's still happening.
That is still happening, unfortunately. People are not listening, but I think the police will, from now on, try to enforce. Unfortunately, when you try to be too civil with people, sometimes they take they are for granted. That's very unfortunate. And,
so if I see people gathering because they are going to, they are wedding or they want to do a naming ceremony, I can call the police and
of course
they'll disperse.
Mr. Cham, of course, we have done a lot of that. We have patrols all over communities patrolling around, and then since the social gathering issues and distancing came up, our officers on patrol are checking on these issues, and so a lot of time we've dispersed people from having gente and naming ceremonies and all that. And also our tourism security unit that is around the tourism area is doing a lot of patrol on the beach also to ensure that people that go on regular Sunday beach and so on are dispersed from that place. But then we also want people to understand something, and that is in as much as we patrol, we cannot be everywhere at all times. So places where you have community football fields and people going down to play football, we want people to take that up once they see it happening. They could go there because this is their brothers and nephews and so on, and disperse them, because what is at stake is their own health and the health of their families. So therefore it is supposed to be an individual responsibility and then a collective responsibility. So where an individual intervenes to get the boys dispersed from the football field as a community and they refuse to do so, you might be able to inform the police nearest to you so that they come and disperse them as soon as possible.
Another big problem of crowd congestion problem I see is the beach. You talk about the beaches. I'm talking now about commercial fish landing sites like Tanje, Gunjur. Anytime you go there, they don't seem to know that there are even measures in place to prevent this. That's a problem. Or is it trade privileges problem?
No, that's policy, because they shouldn't.
But they would say they are doing business.
Yes, but the law is very clear.
They are dealing with essential commodities.
But the social distancing is something that is allowed by law.
Of course.
That you need to practice that.
Of course.
And that is in their own interest.
Of course.
And it's not only at the fish landing side. Even if you go around the market now, you'll find crowd everywhere. It seems nothing is happening, and I think we need to be very much careful of this COVID-19, because if, may God forbid, if we have an outbreak, it's going to be very difficult for us to contain it. I think we all need to be vigilant, to ensure that we contain it. We don't allow it to spread.
All right, Mr. Marina, other area that comes to my mind is, maybe this is not your ministry, but of course, been the main ministry behind these measures. What about Gambians stranded abroad? Who wants, definitely, every time they listen to the news, they think that their country is much better off than where they are. Yet they cannot come. Is the government thinking of, like the British and the Americans did, or the Europeans, to say, make special arrangement with those governments to have a way of transporting them?
Like you said, I mean, that is not my specialty.
Yeah,
but I am aware, I mean, as a Gambian, as a public servant, that the government may want to do a lot of things.
Yes.
The government may have all the goodwill, but it all comes down to one thing, which is capacity, resources. Because we are talking about even Gambians here who have lost their livelihood in some one way or the other. I mean, about compensation packages for them. I mean, so really, when it comes to priorities, the hierarchy of priorities, I think government really has to take care of, you know, I mean, the most important aspects first. Of course, Gambians who are abroad are concerned, but I've not.
Well, it makes sense to say that they are better off staying there.
Certainly, because really, I mean, we know that the spread of the virus is actually facilitated by the cross-border movement of people. And so, I mean, I think the common sense thing to do really is to stay where one is, as long as you are not really on the cusp of dying or, you know, I mean, suffering. I mean, we should all stay where we are. That's the essence of all these border closures. And, you know, it's a sacrifice that everyone has to take. I mean, not every country has the luxury that, you know, I mean, certain countries have to evacuate, organize mass evacuation of their citizens. I mean, from countries like we've seen recently. I mean, so really, I mean, we have to really, I mean, make do with what we have within the confines of our resources and, you know, what common sense dictates and so on.
Yeah, but I think government is equally concerned. And there are discussions going on, looking at various options, you know, what government can do. You know, that's it's something that is going on, you know, looking at various options.
So that may include some of the things they are discussing at the moment. All right, Mr. Marina, another thing is, I don't know how much informed are you about the health situation, the condition of this country situation of the COVID. We know there's only one active case, two cases recovered, two persons recovered. One died, of course, we know, and since then we haven't got any new case, and now there's a little over 3 dozen people are left in quarantine. If their second test prove negative, we will be COVID-free, so to speak. Now, this will require, of course, for you to review the measures that you have put in place. From what you have heard from them, for example, people who are not attending school are saying they have not seen any foreseeable feature. You know, they cannot see in the foreseeable future schools reopening. This is some people.
No, I mean,
nobody seems to know when will they come. I mean, they can understand there's 45, but they don't seem to know whether it will end.
Well, that's the nature of the COVID. I think even there's no country in this world really who can really predict with certainty when this is going to end, and that is why, you know, we all need to take as much precautions as possible. It's a very, very difficult situation for the whole world. I mean, we've seen the most advanced economies crumbling economically. I mean, economies going down, and so those of us in countries which are very vulnerable to economic shocks, I mean, should be very, very careful. And I think if each one of us should take it upon him or herself to really sensitize those who do not understand the impact that this can have on our countries. I mean, to really, you know, make sure that, you know, we take all the necessary precautions. Schools, I mean, like you rightly said, I mean, not only schools, but even economic operators whose businesses are affected. I mean, they also do not know, I mean, when this is going to end, and nobody knows really. That's the mystery, you know, surrounding the COVID-19.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Okay. We are now going to go back to the policeman because there are issues that we still need to discuss. That is, when you arrest people in this under these emergency laws, there are issues like, for example, what do you do with them immediately? Because, like Mr. Marina saying that some of the, well, courts are not really close, but there are problems like how long can you detain them, what do you do them, or do you really have a special way of treating them? For example, relaxing the laws, fining and stuff. Because people are beginning to think that while others are really taken to be a serious matter, others are not. You just caution them and take them. So what do you do with this? Because
well, Mr. Cham, you already been told that the courts are not closed completely. A lot of these people, considering the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic is ongoing, so we too are definitely cognizant of that fact in the way we deal with people, especially the arrest that we made. If you look at the price hiking situation, we've been in the market collecting intelligence and arresting people who are found wanting. But immediately what we do is to process them and set them on temporary bail. And then when they get bail, then we push their files to the court. Already some cases have already been treated. For example, around the North Bank region, there were close to dozens of people who have been put before the court, and they've got themselves fined already.
So you fast track this.
some have been fined 100,000, 150,000, or 200, depending on the evidences against them. And even within the Combo area here, the Kanifing court also had fined certain individuals 50,000, 100,000, and the like. So a lot of these people have already been processed and put before the court already.
Okay.
Yes.
So we come to the Ministry of Trade. We talk about workers. We saw the example of social security. Like they've sent over 100 people to home, but we have seen they put in place very good packages that really made those people, in fact, prefer to stay much longer at home. So why can't you have this replicated in other areas?
Yes, I think you are right. Social Security has done that, but we also have to understand that institutions have their own strength.
Oh, okay.
Looking at their own strength, for some institutions it would be difficult for them to do that, to provide them with a very handsome package like what Social Security did, just like what is happening in government. I wish even in government we can do that, which is bigger, because we have staff that we ask them to stay at home, to ensure that our offices are not overcrowded. And we also advise businesses, to ensure that we are not asking them to close, but also to look at the possibility of going by shift. And also even shift, they can ensure social distancing to ensure that their staffs are not affected. Then now, if you ask those people to pay that kind of package, it might be difficult because they are also suffering. Because these are private businesses, they are also losing income, they are not making much money as they were. Then if you want to force them to do that, it means that you are increasing burden on them. And that's why you want to trade very carefully. We don't want to harm the businesses, because businesses are the lifeblood of the economy. Then we, in as much as we cared about the employees, we also have to care about the businesses, that keep them, in that employment. Then that's the social trade-off we are doing. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Marina, there are a whole lot of things that your ministry will have to supervise, because so many things are under, like the election process, the transitional justice process, all these have come to a halt. And naturally, the natural question is, well, it's because of COVID. But people still want to know what will become the fate of those things. Quite proud from the fact that COVID is happening and everything has stopped. For example, the elections process, or let's say the constitutional process. You just presented, or you have just received or presented the draft constitution to the president, and we said it will be reviewed and followed by National Assembly, etc., etc. Now, all these raise questions as to, can something be done about these things, even during the COVID? Like, you don't need, for example, president didn't need, thousands of people to review the constitution and pass it to parliament, and parliament was sitting anyway the last time. So what's going to happen? Well, people are saying like the government or your ministry might use this COVID thing as a cover to unnecessarily prolong the process. That's what people are saying.
No. I think that's very unfortunate if anybody thinks that anybody would take pleasure out of postponing things due to COVID. Because really, this COVID-19, we've seen around the world. It's not unique to Gambia. A lot of conferences, even the Olympics.
Yes,
had to be postponed. Yes. mean, the European Championships.
Yes,
those who are sports lovers. And a lot of investments have gone into the preparations for those things.
Billions,
We've seen the sport industry, the Premier League, everything basically is on hold. And these are coming at the cost of billions of dollars. So really, what is happening in the Gambia in terms of the postponement of major events like the constitutional review, like the TRRC, by-elections, all those cannot be held. It would be irresponsible of government to really say, despite COVID, let's go ahead and organize an election and people come together and campaign and vote, or even the National Assembly sitting. I mean, the National Assembly last time. Yes, National Assembly had to sit out of a very, very, big emergency because the emergency. The proclamation had to be extended. So there was no way, unless a virtual hearing was arranged, whereby all the National Assembly members would sit in their homes and participate. Which we have not.
That would be difficult.
Exactly.
Because even if they gather to come to agreement is a problem, especially if they are far away apart.
So they really came together out of a dire necessity, a dire emergency situation, and so that was an exception. But apart from that, really, I think we all have to bear, with the delays that are going to be inevitable. For the rest of 2020, really. I think 2020, someone said, was a lost year. That we probably need to rewind it.
And there will be contentious issues like religion. For example, we are on Easter right now. Hardly no Nanbur, nothing people cannot. And the various imams have raised the question about mosques being closed. We are coming to the Ramadan, the Nafila and other things. So how do we go about this, Mr. Jayan? The imams they said, God said, government can do everything. But once they begin to interfere with how people worship, we must take up arms against them. Now how are we going to do all these things?
I know.
Any idea? Or are we beginning to see a little bit relaxation in the measures for the Ramadan?
Well, for
COVID does not know Ramadan.
At the level of the police, we've seen that the closure of public places of worship is part of the regulation.
Yes.
And so this is not a period of time when we want people to understand that the police are out to make life difficult for people or to prevent people from going ahead with their religious practices. But actually this is a situation, it's a global problem, really. Even the Saudis and
even the Hajj people. People said that this year it may not happen.
Exactly. So if all those things are ongoing, then definitely we want the religious authorities also to bear with this situation so that we are able to contain and prevent the spread of COVID-19. Actually, we've seen some imams that some last Friday or before went ahead.
If you have to, as sensitive it might be, if you have to rush into a mosque, arrest imam and other congregation members, you will do it.
Well, we had already arrested.
Yes, an imam in Barimun. No, is it Jara? I thought that was a mistake. It's a Barimun imam.
We have already done that. But
you arrested an imam.
It is geared towards sending a message, actually, so that people understand that the emergency situation that we are faced with is much more than, in fact, it is about you being able to preserve yourself so that you can even be able to pray more and more later. Because the disease, definitely a lot of things is at stake within the spread of COVID-19. And so we definitely want people to be preserved so they can pray more and more later. And that's the wisdom. But then it is not an attack on religion or to constrain unnecessarily people so they don't go about with their religious beliefs.
Well, the final part, your last parting shots from the Ministry of Trade.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think my final message would be let us all try to observe the WHO guidelines as well as the guidelines coming from the advice coming from the Ministry of Health. Let us ensure social distancing and let's avoid overcrowding. Then at the level of ministry, we'll continue to do our job. We'll make sure that we have
stabilized prices
and ensure
sufficient food supply.
Sufficient food supply in this country. That is our mandate. I will make sure that that is done. Yeah. And we are also aware of some of the effects on the businesses, the employers, the employees, and there are a lot of discussions going on to ensure that we come out with something that will address those issues as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes, Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to reiterate that really these are very extraordinary times. This is a matter of life and death, and people need to understand that. I mean, nobody takes pleasure in restricting, the fundamental rights of people. In fact, the emergency law that we have in this country, the Emergency Powers Act, is a 1965 law.
Okay.
And the last time it was legitimately, invoked really was 1981.
81, I remember
yes.
that.
And so you can see that a lot of things have happened in this country, but then we've not had a legitimate cause to really.
There were illegitimate causes. Okay. All right. This is the second time we have to legitimately
to declare, a state of emergency and to come up with regulations. And I think that signifies the importance. What is happening around the world, Gambia is not immune. We do not have any special prayer that is going to protect us from that. So really, we need to. Follow the guidelines, make sure that we take precautionary measures because COVID-19 is definitely it's not something that we can contain in this country when it starts spreading.
Yeah.
And so the message really is precautions, because with the life we are saving may be our own.
Maybe if we give the last word to the policeman, we might all be locked up. All right. So anyway, what is your last word?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. Our message is to have people cooperate and collaborate with the police in the enforcement processes, because it is only true when people cooperate with the police, then we will be able to avoid a lot of the hinges that are happening in the course of enforcement of the measures put in place. We want people to understand that it is not that the police are out to make life difficult for them, but it is about all of us collectively coming together to ensure that we prevent the spread of COVID-19, and this is why these measures are taking place. And so we want the people to definitely understand that.
ASP Lamin Jai is the PRO for the Gambia Police Force, Solicitor General Charno Marena from the Ministry of Justice, and Lamin Damfa, who is the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Trade, Employment and Regional Integration, and what is left behind? It's a long industry. Thank you all for coming on the brunch this afternoon, which I said, of course, started with the sad news that we lost a relative. My co-panelist Nima lost her dad, and we wished Nima and the family the heart to be able to withstand that loss. So on behalf of Nima and all the panelists here, we all pray that we still remain COVID-free and our only case will recover, then we can go about our normal business when all these things are over. Until we meet again next week, this is Lamin Jam wishing you a very good Easter holiday.
la domoro ka diaten
boy janno CK's restaurant
sa nakko be ni na dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de teka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo pendin lo dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o tewoda number 1
amanke ba domola jandama
esa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandin
oto sa nakko be mu CK's restaurant
dafa nan janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Bridge Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la skincare la 2020 lañ wax de waaw fii nag mooy kër fan kër zero tache perfect skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek loo lañ soxlaati rek maanaam bu dee da nga am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la fii ngeen di ñëw suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba laka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi di waxee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw skincare plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon ne dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon rek classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen ne lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skincare products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit bentey tamit si ay dàlla man waaye man nag skincare mooy suma specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reiner Kiwi Eye the whole range Lighten Up Gold Tomatine I mean the list can just go on and on and on and on lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox skincare plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu ngi United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes you know fragrances men's shirts accessories we do dresses as well we do blouses I mean we do shoes name it we do them Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection zero task fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task kenn waratu fi am problème kanam kenn waratu fi am problème yu picca boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii